Okay, another Monday, deeper into the offseason, and more college football news for us to talk about. I got the regular guests with me today. I got Preston Gant, Chris with a K, and Drew England. Guys, y'all already know the drill. Just go down the line, let everybody know where they can find all your great content.
Yeah, y'all can find me on YouTube, The PG Show. You guys can find me on Apple, Google, or Spotify, the same places. We're working on getting our Apple Podcast subscribers up to 50, so go ahead and jump over there and subscribe to that. You guys can jump on Twitter at the PG Show _. And listen, I was fighting somebody the other day on Twitter. You can fight with me too, so jump over there. Love interacting with you guys.
What's up, everybody? Chris here. Ty's been a minute. Everybody, it's been a minute. So, hey, we're back. Horns Down Podcast. Definitely check us out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Drew, what's up?
What's up, Chris? Everybody, how's everybody doing? Drew England, the host of the Under Official Review podcast with my buddy Zach. And then I also do, if you want to look at just straight OU content, the Anything OU podcast with Christian Williams. But yeah, all over the place, always on some shows. Love just talking sports. So always a pleasure to be with Ty and the boys.
Yeah, man, great time, and talking right now to another content creator, High Top Sports. Hopefully, he'll be on the channel here within the next week or so. Great content creator, Florida Gators fan, and I really want to increase my imprint with Florida State, and actually, I really want to start moving into some Big Ten content. So if y'all know of any great Ohio State content creators, send them my way. We'll get them on the stream, have a great time. But there's a lot we got to talk about tonight. I know there's this notion that it's nearing the end of February. College football is at its deadest period of the year. But then the NCAA comes out with this just fugaziness, for lack of a better word. New college football rules. They have 4 rules to shorten games. First, prohibit consecutive timeouts. Second, no longer extending a first or third quarter for an untimed down if the quarter ends on a defensive penalty. Third, the clock will continue to run after the offense gains a first down, except inside of 2 minutes and a half. And finally, the clock will continue to run after an incomplete pass once the ball is spotted for play. I told y'all my thoughts on this before. I think a lot of this is pretty stupid, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's this pendulum that people ping pong back and forth on. Oh, we're doing this for player safety is always what we are told. But how in the world can you say you're doing this for player safety when you're then trying to increase the amount of college football playoff games there are? Yeah. That makes no sense. First off, which look, and that's not an argument against the college football playoff expansion. That's not my point here. This is an argument against bad arguments, right? Be real with me. You want money. If you are really worried about the length of college football games, JD, and I want to give credit where it's due here, JD Pickell of On 3 had a great idea today. Eliminate 1 commercial per break. Look, I just did one. I just took from JD his idea, one idea someone had in a day.
Ty, that goes for all college sports, not just college football. Media timeouts are terrible.
They're awful.
College basketball, like literally, they'll take a media timeout, come out and play for. They'll do one play, like just go up and down one time, turn the ball over, and then boom, another timeout.
And media timeouts, they kill momentum.
Yeah.
And Hank, it was very close. The first word was total, but then the second word was going to be a little bit different. I'll let you piece that one together. Corporate duck. This is my biggest thing. I've said this for a while. College football is my favorite sport in the world. Right? As much as I love football, as great as the NFL is, I love college football. And one of the reasons is because you have one, at best, 2 chances to lose during the regular season. And if you do, you've played yourself. The stakes are that high. There is no sport where the stakes are this high, and we're continuously trying to change it. And a lot of this just doesn't make sense to me. To me, there's much more conducive. Right now, how many times have we all been in the group chat and messaged each other? How long is this review going to take? I don't know if any of y'all caught the XFL process, but they had the review where they actually cut to the guy in the booth in whatever, I guess they're New York. And he was like, hey, we see pretty clear indication he caught the ball. Let's get it rolling. we could cut down so many areas. I've said my piece on it. I'll pass it off to PG. What are you thinking, man? Because this, to me, I get what they're trying to do. It just seems pointless, baseless, bland. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of started to hit on it, but the NFL needs to do this too. Defining easily what a pass is so that everybody can clearly understand what a catch the ball is. That would probably eliminate a lot of time, because then we ain't got to sit there for 20 minutes trying to figure out, did he have possession? Did it bobble when it hit the ground? No, listen, did he have the ball when it hit the ground? Yes or no? Like, it's not that hard. Like, a 2-year-old could go out there and tell you that.
Well, it's the only sport where you don't know what a catch is.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now, I don't necessarily disagree with the clock running thing after first down, just because the NFL already does it. Okay. And I think it makes the game a little bit more competitive, because then, the clock's only stopping within the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't hate that one. I don't hate that one.
I don't hate that one. I don't hate that one. But I agree with you. Media timeouts, either you need to do less of them, and, maybe on the less, just make them like a little bit longer so you're not doing them as often, or, cut down on them completely, because those in the stadium are awful, especially when it's, an August or September game and it's 100 degrees.
Good point.
It's awful. It's terrible. I'm trying to get home as quickly as possible, but I want to watch the game, and standing in there for 4 hours with the sun beating down on you sucks. And so when I see a 3 or 4 minute media timer come onto the field, I'm like, oh geez, here we go. And honestly, it's hard to keep fans engaged in the stadium when they're sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes, no matter what you put on the screen. So yeah, no, I disagree. A lot of the things that there's different things that they could do to speed up the process. Don't necessarily hate the timer though on the first down thing.
Yeah, I grant you that one. I grant that one. Out of all of these, and look, I'm not saying all of them I think are just like terrible, but the clock will continue to run after an incomplete pass, and the SEC, he just hit it here, isn't a spike. Like, well, now that's awful. That rule, that last one is the one where I was like, my jaw actually dropped. Chris, talk to me, man, because I got to hear what you were thinking.
Man, what I'm thinking about it is why are we not paying attention to detail, as far as like, let's clarify some stuff, because some things on the field actually look wonky. Let's talk about the kickoff returns. That rule right there, and essentially is so confusing on the field, because when you see players trying to run with the football, trying to kneel, you're like, okay, what the hell are we doing right now? So that's something I think they can pay attention to. Something else that I thought about, as far as advancing the ball, there's a lot of advanced placement type things that rules that need to be addressed as well, that can help with a lot of things as far as, getting the game over with. And then also, when you catch the ball and nobody's around you and you fall down or whatnot, you should still be able to advance the ball. Or whenever you get a phone, I mean, it's just a lot of things that I was like, well, that's not. When I looked at the list, I was like, those 4 things are not the first things that came to mind. And I think I can speak for a lot of people on that. And like I said, I just think that you go back and pay attention to better attention to detail to some other things. Like Drew said, hey, what is actually a catch now? I think those are things that you really need to address as well. And hell, I think that you need to go back and actually look at the rules about targeting, because I think we saw this year.
God's mercy.
I think we saw this year is a lot of targeting calls that was like, bro, that is textbook, So
yeah, but again, that's the rule call that nobody understands.
Yeah,
it's basically a judgment call. That's what it is.
Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I was going to say, and it's not that nobody understands it. It's just that it's a dumb foul. Trying to kick a kid out of the game is dumb unless he absolutely blatantly does something that is worth it. You don't kick a kid out of a game. That's a rule that needs to be looked at as far as like the NBA does. Flagrant 1, flagrant 2 type of situation.
Love that.
And the one that we were talking about in the green room, this is the rule that I think needs to be examined the most, is the officiating. Something like that actually, people that's actually, worth talking about, maybe worth changing. And like the catch rule, you guys already said all that, but there's other rules that you could really examine, like Chris was saying, that I love, that we need to spend some more time on working out the kinks in than some of this clock stuff and everything like that. Because yeah, it's just I don't know. And I think Hank said it earlier. What are they searching for? What exactly is the reason? And like Ty said, it points back to player safety and everything like that. But if it's player safety, why are we not looking at the targeting? And it's not player safety. Just so it's all about the Benjamins. That's what it is.
Here's another point. Both of y'all guys had really a correlation to that is the money.
Yep.
You want to address, speeding the game up and having them end on time. Well, tell Fox, tell ESPN, stop going 15 minutes over before a game starts.
Yep.
It's you're going 15 minutes over to start Michigan versus Illinois. That should not happen.
No.
Look, I get it. You guys want to do a 3-hour pregame show. You want to hype everything up. It's amazing. Look, I don't care which side you're on, whether you're on the big noon kickoff or you're with game day. Either one is fine, but maybe tell them not to do those 15 minutes. And then your games will kind of speed up a little bit because you got to think of it. You go on ESPN or big noon kickoff, especially on big games, they're going 15 minutes over while Nebraska and Purdue they're already probably 10 minutes into their game by the time the other game starts because they start on time. That was the only benefit of watching OU games on ESPN Plus this year is a simple fact of you knew exactly
they go start right when it
started right then and there.
Yep.
The thing that fires me up the most about all of this is just the disingenuous nature in which it was presented. And Chris, I think one of the things I've talked to you at length about, as much as I am a proponent for NIL, it's my exact same complaint with NIL. You have a good idea, and I don't think this is a good idea, but understanding that something needs to change. Okay, check. The NCAA understands that. But then the way you go about doing it is just kind of disingenuous, right? I've said it till I'm blue in the face. I'll say it one more time. The NCAA NIL only 9 days after the Supreme Court basically paints a target on their back. Like, oh, now conveniently you figured out how to do this. Turns out no state legislation is the exact same. There is no baseline laws for NIL. It is the wild, wild west. And now this is all about money. What fires me up more than anything is whenever the NCAA does something disingenuous, and I'm sorry for my language, but they present me a sandwich. They tell me it's not a shit sandwich when it very clearly is a shit sandwich, and they say this is a Cuban. This is a ham and cheese. This is a turkey sandwich, and it's fantastic. Eat it. It's like, no, I can see what it is. Don't beat around the bush with me. I have eyes. I'm aware of what I'm looking at. That is a shit sandwich. That's always what just kills me about the NCAA is the disingenuous nature. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in life too. I've always said this. I'm not a fan of off the wall art, or I'm not against off the wall arguments as long as they follow like a logical line. I hate bad arguments that just like they have no logic. And unfortunately, the NCAA seems to be on the giving end of a lot of those because, my goodness gracious.
But here's the thing. I think we can all end on this one right here. What else do we expect from the NCAA?
That's what I was just about to ask. I was about to say, what's next?
No, you're right. You're right. This is really my fault.
Yeah. So. Right? I have a thing that I tell a lot of clients, and I just tell anybody who will hear it. But listen, honestly, if you have a certain expectation for how people are going to act, don't let them get a rise out of you. That's exactly what I did. I didn't really bat an eye. I just said to myself, this is not something that I would normally, like.
This is my fault. You're 100% right. This is my fault. And
Ty, you got to do better, man. Come on.
I acknowledge it, but I think the thing that kills me is we're not talking. Chris, you're 100% right, but we're not talking about, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business, and this is supposed to be the sanctioning, governing body of it. And you do stuff like this. That's the part that I'm just like, I set myself up for failure, though. You're 100% right. I know what to expect. And I get into that boat every morning, lunch pail in hand, smile from ear to ear, only to get smacked in the face every morning. Yeah, you're right. That's on me. That's absolutely on me. But keeping on the business end of this, guys, we've talked about this a few times. Chris, I don't think you've been here since we've been talking about this. So really excited to get your perspective on this. The Pac-12 can't give themselves away at this point.
No.
I'll take this back because I'm sure you're aware of it, but just to tell the complete story for anybody that may not have heard, whenever they were going through these conference renegotiations, the Big Ten did theirs, huge mega deal. My goodness gracious, the Big Ten, they got a beautiful deal for their institutions. The Pac-12 thought they were next, all well and good. Well, here comes the Big 12 riding in on their horse, and they get a deal done before the Pac-12 does. Now, Chris, here's the problem. The Pac-12 commissioner had told all of the teams, the new one, they could expect about $40 million per institution. Well, the Big 12 renegotiated their contract first, and it was at $36 million per institution. The question then comes, which TV brand is going to pay $4 million more per institution for the Pac-12 with USC and UCLA heading out the door? Mm-hmm. They played themselves, and now it's not going well. No. Did you see what they put out the other day? So they put out a statement basically the other day, and it was essentially like, "We'll get it done."
Oh, yeah, worry. I did see that.
And my jaw dropped when they put, and I was like, "Oh, y'all are in trouble, aren't you? You must be in some real trouble to put this out. You wouldn't say this." Go ahead.
Here's my thoughts about it. I mean, just from the get-go, to be honest with you, like if we go all the way back when we initially started talking about the Pac-12 expansion, they have the desirable location, but they don't have the desirable football market out there. Football is not a thing really out there. It's not a necessity. It's not something that people really, they want to go and necessarily see. That's just my opinion. I think when you're in Cali, I think you're thinking of other things opposed to just going to watch USC, unless USC is good. USC and PG, you'll like this, but USC and Colorado, it's really riding on them. Oregon is a sexy team, but it's a different type of sexy. It's simply because they have all those uniforms and they have Nike money. But when SC is really good, and then now you put Coach Prime out there with what he's building or attempting to build, that's what you're going to – that's going to be your calling card. But then again, when USC and UCLA do leave, now what are you doing? You're not like the Big 12, where the Big 12 is saying, you know what, we're going to stay true to our roots, and we're going to go and really dig deep in our trenches and say, this is where we stand, this is what we are, and this is who we got. So if you're really a diehard fan, show us that. It's not going to be the same for a Pac-12 with a Stanford, Cal, Arizona State, Arizona teams that are, let's just be honest with you. If you want to be real about it, I think those teams you'd be more inclined to say those are basketball schools. Those are schools that are notoriously good in other sports besides football, and it's going to be hard to get a lot of fans behind that. So they're going to have to go and schedule a lot of those big time non-conference matchups. But like I said, what it boils down for me is simply this: desirable location, but just not a desirable market for football to be shown.
Before I pass this off, you said one thing that I love, because I hear that a lot, and it's not wrong, about how people just don't care in California. They care when you give them a reason to care. And it's the same in Miami. They'll come. They'll be there. Well, we can go back and look at those old footage of the 2001 U where they were packed, right? When those stadiums, they were packed. Yeah. The tailgates were packed. Mm-hmm. The parties near the stadium were packed. Same with the 05 USC. The stadiums packed. Tailgates packed. Campus packed. It was jumping. But if you don't give them a reason to care, they have way too much else to do. They don't care. It's not like here in North Texas where I have nothing else to do.
Here's the perfect example, UCLA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, no, good point. PG, man. We've talked about this before, but the Pac-12, these negotiations, when are they going to get a deal done? They'll get a deal done, but geez, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if they get a deal done before the Big 12 really comes in there and tries to steal their teams. I really don't, because at some point or another, those schools are going to start shopping, because here's the deal. Yes, the Big 12 got a deal done before the Pac-12, and then they left a lot of leverage in that opportunity, saying, hey, if we bring in more schools, can we get more revenue? And the answer has been yes. So if they go out there and they can negotiate with their media partners, Fox, and say, hey, we're going to bring in the 2 Arizona schools, a Utah and Colorado, what would you up our money to? And then they can go back to them and say, hey, we'll give you, let's say it's $50 million a year. So every school gets $50 million a year. There's no better situation for those Pac-12 teams at that point to stay in the Pac-12. They're not going to get that kind of money, because they were having to look at a streaming services, because ESPN probably ain't going to fork up all that money. And in reality, if those teams disperse, the Pac-12 is not going to exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I really don't think the Pac-12 is going to survive. I just don't. I think they're bottom feeders. I think, if you get Colorado in here and those 2 Arizona schools, it opens up new markets for the Big 12, which they want to do. It's going to open up opportunities for them to be shown late at night now, because they can do the Pac-12 after dark games. And then same thing for the Big 10, right? If the Big 10 goes up there and gets Oregon, Washington, Cal, and Stanford, it allows them to do a Pac-12 after dark on theirs. Now it's both Fox, so I'm going to be curious to see. But I can't remember if Big 12 was Fox and ESPN, but regardless, Fox will still get the Pac-12 after dark games, which is going to be nice. I just don't see how the Pac-12 survives this. I really don't.
That's another thing. Good point, PG, about the times of the games. That kills me. Like, I can't stay up that late to watch a game.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like the streaming services, it gives you the opportunity to stream the game whenever you want. So you're not kind of like held up against the other cable. So like you only got ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, with Fox, you got Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2. But so it's like you're kind of limited there on the cable watching. Yeah. But like with the streaming service, you get a little bit more leeway. But also at the same time, Fox, ESPN, they all have their own streaming service too. So it's like, I don't see how the Pac-12 is really getting a deal to keep those teams. And even if they bring in a San Diego State or an SMU, I don't feel like those markets are big enough to change your revenue impact. I don't know. It's more impactful for the Big 12 to take the teams than it is for the Pac-12 to go out and gain teams at this point.
Probably true. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that at all. Drew, what are your closing thoughts on this, man?
I mean, if the Pac-12 wanted to be proactive, they really should have went out, I think, a decade ago and tried to land Oklahoma. And it was Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that they were trying to go after, and everything like that. I think they should have done it when the first realignment started, and it would have set them up a lot better than where they're trying to go now. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of in limbo. Like PG said, I think they're going to strike while the iron's hot, because it's best for not only their university and their athletic program, but they're not going to wait for the Pac-12 to hum-ho around, because they've already been promised $40 million. And some of them are just kind of pissed off right now, if you really want to be honest. And they're going to say, all right, either pony it up or, we're going to go look at something else. So I think the Pac-12 is in a really dicey situation right now when it comes to revenue, TV market, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, can they survive and what's going to happen to what they're doing.
Absolutely. Well, before we jump on to the next topic after this, I do want to take some time, hit some comments that I thought were intriguing. Anthony, thank you for joining in this evening. He says, panel, thought I have an idea if the ACC is able to renegotiate the media rates contract with ESPN and get more money for each team. What are your thoughts on them adding Baylor, TCU, Tech, and Oklahoma State? For the ACC, Anthony, I think it'd be just fine. Look, I think the ACC is in a better state than the Pac-12 exponentially, because one location. Unfortunately for the Pac-12, so much of the college football viewership is East Coast centralized that, I mean, Chris made the point. Y'all are making the points in the comments. I'm one of the only lunatics up watching Pac after dark,
yeah,
right?
Me too.
That's
probably because I'm watching film anyway, because I'm breaking down high school film too.
The games, that you just had. So yeah, that makes sense naturally.
Can I comment on Anthony's comment?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd get the Big 12 teams, for one. But two, if the ACC deal for some reason got opened up for renegotiation, if I'm the SEC, if I'm the SEC, I look at it and go, there's really only a few teams that I really want to broadcast in the ACC, and that potentially could leave the opportunity for the SEC to step in and potentially steal some of those teams, and the Big 12 to steal some of those teams, and you can kind of get rid of the teams you don't want in the
That's
ACC.
fair.
So I do not think the ACC wants to restructure this deal with how conference realignment is going on right now. I don't think that's
Well, here's the thing that the ACC has got going over the Pac-12 is their athletic programs, especially basketball, and the revenue that they make there, and baseball is a hotter commodity than what the Pac-12 is selling right now. Because you've got, think about this: if the SEC, when all this stuff, finally settles out, and you've got all these two mega conferences, that's where it's going, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 or the SEC. That's where it's going to happen. Think about this in just the basketball sense. Think about North Carolina or Duke playing Kentucky in a conference basketball game. Stuff like that. The Pac-12 has nothing like that to throw out. And that's what these teams, that's what they can sell to these other conferences, as opposed to some of these teams out in the Pac-12. Who do you really want out there to bring to the Big 12, without the exception of Colorado and Oregon, all those other teams, and maybe Arizona State? But when you're looking at it as a whole, they're not really enticing you. They're like, oh yeah, we're really rocked. We're really fired up to bring Cal and Arizona into our conference.
Well, I don't think you bring a Cal and Stanford because academically it doesn't make sense. But I disagree. I think Arizona and Arizona State would be great to bring into the conference, because Arizona and Arizona State is like Missouri as of late, where they're really starting to develop a lot of high star talent out in those states. So if you could,
okay, but none of those teams are North Carolina and Duke in basketball.
Well, I get it, but it's about broadening.
That's a lot of money.
It's about extending your reach to be able to be in those markets, to be able to get that kind of talent to stay in your conference and not go somewhere else.
But the East Coast is a lot closer centrally than the West Coast.
Ty, I want to jump in here. That PG said a word that I think we all need to think about, take some time to really dissect that, really just unpack it. Academics. All these Pac-12 schools are really, really precise.
I didn't go to college to play school.
I know you didn't go there to play school.
You did not.
But one of the things that I'm saying is this right here. The reason why I think one of the things that the Pac-12 can do, they can sit on their ass. They can sit there and just take a chill pill, because whereas we're thinking, yeah, they want to reach and they want to get as much money as they can for their football programs and athletics and stuff, these schools are not hurting. These schools are really prestigious, academic, research, institutions.
Yeah. You're only talking about two schools though out there. Talking about Stanford and Cal.
Yeah, because they don't have UCLA anymore.
UCLA is not a academic prowess anymore.
Look,
Arizona State, you're going there to party. Let's be honest.
All I'm saying is this right here is that, like, when you look at tuition, look at different things like that, when you really break it down, those schools are bringing in a lot of money. Those
Stanford and Cal are bringing in a lot of money.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying a lot of those other schools too. Those are desirable. Like I said, they're desirable locations. Sure. Opposed to, yeah, I could go to a TCU and that's great, but I'm going to Cal, I'm going to party in Tempe, all the rest of this stuff. Like, I'm going there. Those are desirable locations that people want to be. So they're always going to have that mass appeal. So the thing about it is that they don't have to jump at certain, like Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has a lot of money, but let's just be real. It's not a desire. What are you going to pick right now? If you get a full ride to go to Arizona State or go to Oklahoma State, you're probably going to Arizona State.
Well, it also depends on if you're just athletics, straight academics, whatever the case is. Yeah. There's a lot of factors in there, but
I'm just saying that, the Pac-12, I think that if you really just jump into their mindset, I think that's kind of something that they're leaning on, is saying we're going to be okay.
How many research institutions are there in the Pac-12?
Say that again.
How many research institutions are there, like actual funded research institutions? Because that'd be something that, I'd be super interested to know. Because if there's a lot of them, then they're not really tripping about any of this. They're worried about the optics.
Here's a big thing too. I think that gets overlooked about USC. And yes, we always talk about their athletic prowess, but there is some freaking directors and entertainment people that come out of USC that is astounding.
True.
Yeah.
Like
Very
their cinema program is
And music.
and music is second to none.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe not just focus solely on the act or the research part,
Sure.
but just when you see what those schools have to offer you, and I mean, you're in Cali, you're in the land of dreams, all the rest of that stuff. I mean, they have other things that, I mean, other regions of other college football regions simply just don't have.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Anthony, clutch with the comment. I swear to God, Chris, you've missed it. Chat has always been elite.
Yeah.
For this live stream, right? Ever since Chris and I mean, always. But for the past 3 weeks, man. I mean, next level stuff. Anthony comes in here, says the research institutions in the Pac-12 are Oregon, Stanford, Washington, and Cal Berkeley, and we're talking like major. So yeah, that's a great point. Now, I did want to ping pong back to something PG said, because he talked about some teams in the ACC that maybe the SEC would be looking to get. I can name you three. That if they, I personally, as an SEC fan, I would love to have them. Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. Let's complete Florida. Let's complete South Carolina. Do I think it's feasible? Probably not. But I just think that'd be so much fun getting Florida State, Miami.
Well, the SEC, you're talking about growing your brand, going up the East Coast as well too. And I think you got to go look at, and from just a whole athletic side of things. Imagine having, because you're going to go to 20 teams before it's all said and done and more. Imagine like I said earlier, with football, baseball, basketball, all that stuff.
VT.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
North Carolina has been a really good athletic program all the way around. And it pains me to say it because I'm a Duke fan, but Duke basketball. Think about these games that the SEC would have in basketball, and that would just make them the more dominant conference. All across the board, it would be insane. And then the baseball and everything like that. Softball would kill it too as well. So
let me piggyback off of that what Drew said. Something that popped in my mind. I could see Sankey and the SEC basically trying to play chess with a lot of teams, whereas they would go into somewhere like Florida and say, "Okay, Florida State, if you don't want to come, then guess what? South Florida wants to come and join the SEC."
And there's history, like Anthony says, between Florida State and I don't think it'd be feasible, but like I said, I would love it. I would be over the moon. Over the moon. Now, here's a question that I wanted to get to. Matt asks, is USC going to be good after Caleb Williams? And I want to address this in two parts, because then, Matt, you say you disagree, and this is fair, with my take about people in Cali caring, because OU is 6-7 and sold out every home game. This is what it bleeds into, though. Opportunity cost. Is the opportunity cost of being in California, does it make more sense to pay $100, $60 to go watch a bad USC team when you could go to the beach, you could go to Hollywood, you could go to Universal Studios, you could go to Disney World, you could go in the mountains, you could go do anything, as opposed to I'm going to give North Texas as an example so people don't think where I'm located, so people don't think I'm picking on Oklahoma. If I'm not at a football game here, I'm inside because it's hot as hell. There's my opportunity costs are being at the football game or being in the AC. You think I'm going to go to that nasty ass Lake Ray Roberts? No.
Y'all are about to get Universal Studios too, man. I'm telling you what, that's crazy. That's crazy.
True. But yeah, I'm not going to the nasty Lake Ray Roberts.
That doesn't even sound like an attractive lake.
It's just dirty. It's a nice place. It's just dirty. And so that's the opportunity costs, man. Now don't get me wrong, because of that, you're always going to have more impassioned fan bases in the region we're in. And like I said, I'm just using my location as an example. That way I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just speaking to where I live. There's nothing. Denton's a cool place. There's nothing.
But I'm curious if USC is a national championship team and they can get back on that track, if they even can get a draw back into their attendance, because I don't know, it was bad this last season. It was bad. And you felt like with that rejuvenated excitement
fair.
around Lincoln Riley and how well they were doing, that they could have at least gotten some people that was back.
But I think
So
you
I'm
have to
just
show them.
curious.
It's a wait and see approach. I
think
think
you gotta
that
show
they'll
them.
be out there. They'll be out there, and I think USC is not stupid about it. I think USC.
We'll find out. I mean, we'll find out when Michigan and Ohio State have to roll in to Southern California at night. We'll be curious. I'll be curious to see if that game is sold out.
Look, the buzz is back. A little bit of the juice is back for sure. You got the Heisman Trophy winner. There's going to be a lot of different things, and that's still a little bit a ways off.
So if USC can't get to the top 4, because I mean, with the playoffs expanding, I'm not going to say make the playoffs, but if they can't get into that Final 4 in the playoffs, are people going to be interested in USC football? Because as of right now, with the direction of that USC program, they're doing the same things they were doing at Oklahoma, even on the transfer portal and the recruiting trail.
You just answered your question.
This is the difference, right? Oklahoma doesn't have to show people this is why you should care. People are going to care. Alabama, people are going to care, right? USC, you've got to give those fans a reason to care. Now, whether or not it ever looks the same, I'm not sure. PG, that's a good question. You would think that maybe they would have upticked this year, but I also agree with Chris. I think it's a wait and see.
I think they got to care though. If USC can't get into that top 4, and they're getting the same product that Oklahoma was getting.
Well, now the 12-team playoff is gonna help that a little bit too.
Well, no, Drew, that's why I said I know they're gonna make the playoffs. So I mean, they got to get to that Final 4.
PG, you got to think about this right here. Think about the name that was there: Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. Just like when Baker Mayfield was here, those were people who had college football in a chokehold, in a trance.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to think about.
Well, even Pete Carroll had that thing, man. That was just.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about with these comments. Y'all have been elite in the comments, right on schedule. Pete Carroll.
mean, and to have like I talked about with the entertainment side and all that with LA. Think about it. Snoop Dogg at your practice, Will Ferrell, all these guys. I mean, it was like a who's who of, and it's incredible. And I don't know if Lincoln Riley, because he likes to close practice, so I don't know how that's going to go. But,
Look, the question was, and let's not get away from the question. The question is will USC be good with after Caleb Williams? And let's just go to Nelson. Everybody talks. Yeah, I was about to say it all depends on Malachi Nelson, because Malachi Nelson has a lot of Spencer Rattler vibes. I'm just gonna be real with you.
Yep.
So the question is how good as he goes, because be honest,
physically. Hold on. Let's put a little note in here. And the only reason I want to do this is because Spencer was known for other things coming out physically. That's where we're making this
on the field comparisons.
Physically,
yes.
Ability wise with Spencer Rattler. Not and look, I never even heard anybody just say Spencer's bad. They just said Spencer like Spencer. No. And if you're that good at football, I can see why, or if you're that good at whatever your craft is, I can see why you'd think that. But I just wanted to I know exactly where you're heading, Chris, and I agree. Look, here's
the same argument that Oklahoma fans are with Jackson Arnold. I mean, we don't know until we know, So it's one of those things that, and the same sentiment as USC is talking about. What's life like after Dylan Gabriel? We have certainly a good one in place, but you're not going to know until he proves it on the field. So,
go ahead, PG, and then I'm going to round it out.
No, I was just going to say, talking about Malachi Nelson, as an OU fan and a lover of college football, I'm really excited to watch that Malachi Nelson, Raleek Brown, and Zachariah Branch trio out there. That's going to be such a fun trio at USC, and that should have been here at Oklahoma, but my gosh, that is going to be so much fun to watch.
Cole, that's a good one.
Can we claim Williams? Hey, Cole, here's the question. If Caleb Williams walks around in more OU gear than he does USC gear, then he's by proxy claiming you.
I don't think he will.
No, I don't think he will, but I just answered the thing about Bama claiming Jalen.
Yeah.
If he walks around with more Bama gear than he does OU gear.
But he claims both schools. So,
but that's my point. I've always said that. Both teams can claim him, but if we're trying to create hard lines, I'll create a hard line.
It's just like when everybody, like the Bob Stoops argument, how many Heisman trophies winners has he really coached? Technically, he coached Caleb Williams in the bowl game, so he coached a Heisman Trophy winner. If we really want to get down to nuts and bolts,
the correct answer is both. The
right,
correct answer
absolutely.
is both. And first off, we're talking about a person.
Yes.
We can't claim a person.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Whoever Jalen is like, if he says I claim both institutions, then there's your answer.
Yeah,
he claims
right.
both institutions.
Yeah,
both institutions.
Absolutely.
But no, to the question though, I mean, obviously people want to talk about defense. I know they're going to talk about eat Grinch up. Look, I know Lincoln Riley can make the playoffs with a bad defense. I've seen it before. But the question is, and I've seen him even with a bad defense still be able to get over the hump against good teams like a Utah or Oregon. So the thing about it is, it's just a progression of how fast or how ready, how prepared is Malachi Nelson from day one. Is he going to set the world on fire, or is he going to have some mental lapses, basically sitting out a year and trying to figure out? Because the thing is that his weapons will already be in place. Raleek Brown, the Branch kid, or the Branch, all the branches, and then you got the what's that? The Lemon kid. I mean, you got. Yeah, he's gonna have a plethora of weapons out there. The question
Branch is freaky too.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
question we were talking about the other day. How do you replace those wide receivers?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of questions or whatnot, but like I said, we've seen him do more with less in some instances. But I think that for Lincoln, he's got to figure it out on defense. He's got to figure it out. Like, something has to give. You don't have to have an elite defense, but you have to have a top 50 defense. And I think, hell, if we would have had at least a top 50 defense, top 60 defense, we're probably sitting here with at least one ring from that Raleigh era.
Yeah.
But
if you also start Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield, you might have one too.
Now it's interesting you mentioned the defense part, because I heard this the other day on another show, but they said that Lincoln Riley actually understands defense really well, which makes it interesting why they can't put out a good defense and why he can't go out there and make a good defense
that
coordinator
makes
hire.
sense. He's a brilliant offensive mind, so by proxy, he's going to understand how to manipulate defense.
Us brilliant offensive minds, we study a lot of defense, you know.
No, I get that. I just.
Well, Chris, is he frozen?
No, he's still
no,
there. He just looked like he saw a ghost.
He did. I was like,
He had that 1,000-yard stare.
He did. He was like, what just happened? Breaking news.
Y'all ever seen No Home on the Western Flank?
Yeah.
No, he looked like that dude that looked over the trench and saw the enemy.
He's like, they're really here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy, Lincoln Riley's not going to leave. He's he can't do that twice in a row.
Well, no, Hall of Fame. That's why I had to clarify. And I was very clear to clarify. We're talking physical ability.
Now let
intermittent arm angles.
Let me interject something in here. I think, and I've had a chance to be around him a little bit and stuff like that. I think Spencer gets a bad rap. I think and everything like that. I think people only see the Netflix side of it, and think about this: what Netflix does, what any show does, what anybody does is to try to sell the show and try to sell clicks and try to sell it. A lot of the stuff that was filmed and was put out there about Spencer it didn't do Spencer justice, and how he handled his situation at Oklahoma, I think often gets overlooked, because he could have easily packed it up and said, "The hell with you guys," all that stuff, and moved on. But what he did was he stuck it out, and trust me, it was a very hard situation.
Yeah, that was an extremely hard situation.
And I think he handled it with grace and with very, very good, better than I probably would have.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was an extremely hard situation. You have your own friends on the student section, the fans calling for your head as a college athlete, guys. Like, let's just put that out there. As a college athlete at home, and you got people calling for your heads when Spencer Rattler could have went and started for many programs.
Let me interject here real quick. Hall of Fame, my brother, you can run it back, man. I was very clear to poignantly say we're not talking about what's between the ears. We're talking about arm talent. So whether you're talking about Netflix or not is irrelevant. That wasn't the conversation to begin
I was
with.
just going off with people saying how bad Spencer was, and
Gotcha. No.
Yeah.
When we're saying we're comparing Malachi to Spencer, we're
Straight
talking
on
about
the
not
field.
having any arm
Absolutely.
angles that he's stuck to. The fact that he can have a defender coming down on him and he'll sidearm sling it. No, I completely agree with you, Hall of Fame. No, we're not comparing between we're looking at the arm angles, the freaky stuff he can do at the football. Because look, Spencer, it didn't work at OU. The guy's got freaky arm talent.
well, look,
you know what I mean?
How many games did he win in the SEC this year?
Yeah, dude's got freaky arm talent.
7 or 8.
Didn't he go beat Clemson at Clemson? He won 9 games, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say they won 9.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, I love Spencer Rattler. I'll go ahead and say it. You guys can crucify me all you want. I like what Spencer Rattler brings to the table.
I agree with you. Spencer Rattler is a great athlete. And, I think a lot of people look at that situation in the Texas game and not congratulating Caleb Williams. Who would? If you were in that position,
well, here's the thing about
it?
that is he did congratulate him. But again, the cameras only pan over at certain times in the game. He went over and they were talking multiple times on the sideline. They just didn't show it.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, it's a hard situation that a lot of people will never
must-see
understand
TV.
because they'll never be in it.
Chris has got a look of concern on his face.
No. It's not the look of concern. It's just right here. Here's my little hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take, but we have Spencer Rattler this year. We don't have we win those close games. I'm just gonna say it like that.
Shit. Oh shoot! Yeah, if you have Rattler, you probably only have 3 losses.
Yeah. Yeah, Spencer Rattler.
I'm in your boat, Chris. 100%.
But Rattler's going to go be a great NFL quarterback, and then OU fans are going to look back at it and go, "Where was that at Oklahoma?"
I still say this though. I think he's a great college quarterback, and I think his arm talent is off the charts. But I will say this though, Ty brings it up all the time, and it's a fair assessment. Caleb and Spencer, they struggle reading defenses, and it shows sometimes when you see the multiple interceptions in games, especially from Spencer.
Yeah,
that's a Lincoln Riley problem. Spencer can definitely read defenses. There's no question about that.
Yeah, no doubt, Hall of Fame.
I just think Rattler's a lot like Patrick Mahomes in the terms of he'll sling it, and that's why I think he's going to be so successful, because I don't think Patrick Mahomes would have been great at Oklahoma. I think he's a great NFL talent because in the NFL, you have a better offensive line in front of you. You get a little bit more time. You have elite wide receivers. I think Rattler will be fine because, like I said, when I watched him here at Oklahoma, that's who he reminded me a lot of, because he throws the ball downfield, he takes chances, and
I don't know, PG. You don't always have a great offensive line. If Sam Bradford had a great offensive line in front of him, he would still be in the league. He probably would have actually did something that would have been noteworthy. Kyler Murray's been playing behind probably one of the most in-depth offensive lines. I think Drew could speak on for me on that. But I mean, literally, I just think that I think it's a perfect scenario. Don't get me wrong. Pat Mahomes is doing Pat Mahomes thing, but Andy Reid being your basically your offense coordinator would be enemy. I mean, he's getting a lot of help, but I think that
not anymore. No,
I know. But my problem with that is just going. I mean, hell, I know you were there for every home game. I was there for that Tulane game, and I was just like, I don't know what the hell he's seeing out here. I don't know what Spencer is doing. Even a year where he had a ton of success, I know when Spencer Rattler is playing a good game, but I also seen Spencer Rattler play a bad game. And sometimes out there, maybe it's not him not being able to read defenses, but having that gunslinger mentality whenever it's just like, dude, literally it's triple coverage. What are we doing?
I missed something because I've been reading the comments and everybody's like, no. What I was reading the comments. Who was compared to who?
Malachi Nelson compared to Rattler?
No.
Caleb.
Oh, Caleb
Williams.
Gotcha.
That's
I thought someone
Eddie.
compared someone to Patrick Mahomes.
Oh no, I did. I compared Rattler to Patrick Mahomes in terms of like the way that they play.
No.
What, their hairstyle, maybe?
Like when you watch Rattler,
I'm not going that far.
With his arm power, it reminds me of Patrick Mahomes' arm power.
I can grant you that Rattler, this is what I will give you. And I don't think a lot of people realize this about Rattler can throw a football a country mile. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize
Uncle Rico type of strength.
Yeah, for real. Like, I don't think people realize what a cannon he has on his body, but I can't compare him to Mahomes, man. Mahomes is
I mean, maybe they're
but y'all wouldn't have said that in the NFL, or you guys wouldn't have said that when he was in college. Y'all wouldn't have been like, "Oh, well, Mahomes is going to go beat this great quarterback." Nobody really guessed that.
Bro,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think
it's the same way with Tom. It's the same way with Tom Brady and stuff. You never.
Mahomes threw for 800 yards in a game.
I don't think Rattler is going to go high in the draft.
600.
I think he'll go later in the first round, so I think he'll end up with a decent team, which means he'll get some time to be developed by a coordinator and a coach that cares about him and cares about his development. You know, he'll get a chance to be behind a good offensive line, around some good targets. So by year 2 or 3, that man's ready to roll.
Dom, hold on. Dom, y'all is one of those really small words with massive implications. Don't you put me in this group.
Fine, you can put PG bugging. How about that?
Y'all is 3 letters, and it encompasses everybody. And this is not a y'all situation. It's just like we and us. I hate those words. They're small words.
Or just him. Just use him.
They mean, look, they both have wild arm talent. I grant you that. But, like, I can name you a lot of quarterbacks that have had wild arm talent. That's not why. Like, I can name you a lot of quarterbacks.
Jay Cutler had a good arm. He can
unbelievable.
Just do it to the wrong team.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just having the arm.
Absolutely.
Because DJ Uiagalelei, I don't know if you remember this. They were as a camp. Rattler threw it like 65 yards.
He threw it like almost 80.
Uiagalelei was younger than Rattler. He went 20 yards back and threw it further than him.
Yep.
But that's not going to like translate into being Mahomes. Mahomes does stuff because he manipulates safeties. He manipulates.
I know plenty of kids who have won pump, pass, and kick, and they're working at Walmart. So
what I'm trying to say is Spencer Rattler, I think, has Mahomes-like talent. Like, he could be. The problem is, and you mentioned DJ Uiagalelei, he was under Tony Elliott the past 2 years.
Sure, but Spencer was under Lincoln Riley.
His first year was Jeff Scott. Yeah, I don't think Lincoln Riley did Spencer Rattler any good. And to be honest, I don't think he did him any good. That's why, like, I think this next year with Shane Beamer is going to be a lot better.
Look,
and I think DJ Uiagalelei is going to have a much better season at Oregon State, just because I don't think Tony Elliott did DJ any good. Lincoln Riley didn't do Spencer Rattler.
Here's where I'm going to agree and disagree. I've said this before. I think Lincoln has an offensive system that's predicated on winning games. Right? Mm-hmm. It's so efficient. It's predicated on winning games.
Well, it's designed to get the playmakers the football.
Yes, it's designed to create assumptions for the defense, simplify what the offense is doing, and just create havoc.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield did it, so I mean
that might not amount to developing someone who can read a defense that's showing cover 2, but the second you snap the ball, that safety drops in the box, and now you're looking at a cover 3 cloud, and you're like, shoo, what just happened?
Yeah.
Everything's different.
Rolling coverages, stuff like that, yeah.
Boom. Here's where I disagree, PG. I hear you. I don't think you're wrong. Lincoln, I don't think ever told him, hey, if you see Marvin Mims in triple coverage and you have an open receiver that can get us an easy 15 yards, test triple coverage. I don't think Lincoln ever told him that. And he did it religiously. In the NFL, that's not going to happen.
Anthony's saying that, yes, that's partly true, but Sam Bradford did not come from Lincoln Riley's system. That was long before Lincoln Riley.
And also Sam Bradford was not a 5-star.
But here's another problem. Like, here's a little bit of an out that I'll give Spencer. Okay. There were some times, I know we talk about Roof a lot with situational play calling. There were some times where Riley, I'm like, why are we running that?
And that was the year y'all only had the one running back or 2 running backs. So, like, and we talked about this a lot, Chris.
Well, not even that. Years in the past, you would
gotcha.
You would see him like, why are we running all these? We're not even running.
We got a little conservative at times.
We got a little bit of conservative, but on like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, instead of running our bread and butter plays, not only our run plays, but our short yardage, little out plays and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're out here running 15-yard, 15-yard or go routes.
Trying to take the deep shot. Yep.
Yeah, taking deep shots. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yep. No, I agree with you.
So when you're looking at the play, you're like, hell, he's got to make a play because there's nothing else that we can do. Perfect. Another game. You got on to Caleb Williams about that in the Baylor game, and it was the same thing. It wasn't about reading defense. It was the fact that that's how he was coached. Make a play down the field. Those were the plays that he was ran that they ran that was called, and he had to run it. And by default, him and Rattler, that's how they were coached. Make a play.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean about the offense. It's predicated on create assumptions. I'll tell you who else does that. When I watch, this is just kind of spiraling to a different conversation now, and then we'll get back on track after this comment. I promise everybody in the chat.
Daniel. Daniel says Drew's an OU fan, but doesn't suck on the Baker Mayfield juice. Exactly.
When I watch Steve Sarkisian's offense, a lot of the times when it's clicking, that's the one word that I associate with Sark's offenses is they create assumptions. That's what he loves. I think the best example of this is he'll hit you with the same formation 3 times, right? Orbit motion, orbit motion, orbit motion. And every time that orbit motion, it's just eye candy. There's nothing to it. On the 3rd or 4th time, that orbit motion is going to be a wheel that's going to hit you over the head for a 50-yard touchdown. Yep. And I think a great example of this is the national championship. They ran an orbit motion with Devontae Smith consistently. Zoop out, zoop out, zoop out. But on one of them, passed it right to him. Ohio State's defense was so out of place because we'd given them eye candy so many times before. Whether it was an orbit motion or whether they allowed Devontae Smith to continue going through his motion.
But you're also talking about guys like when his offense was going is because of guys like that.
No doubt about that. I'm certainly not going to fight that point.
I'll tell you this:
someone drew up the play.
As a play caller and as somebody who coaches football, especially at the high school level, it's a lot easier to be more confident in a play when you know who's getting the ball, as opposed to calling a play and saying, "Man, geez, I hope somebody goes out there and makes a play."
True. But I still think that those offenses he were calling, man,
absolutely, and I think you do that because you kind of get guys open and you allow other people to make those plays because you know that the defense is going to be scheming towards your guy or double covering somebody or things like that. It's good when you have options.
Good. JC says, I think the city of Athens, Georgia is going to have to hire more police after they win their 3rd natty in a row. Hey, if they win that 3rd natty in a row, they might actually have to hire more police. Yeah, that'd be wild.
I think it's very unlikely just because it's a really hard thing to do.
Oh, it's next to impossible to do. But look, Georgia, I'm not going to sit here and say they can't do it. They have been sensational. I mean, they have been.
Well, and here's the thing that I love seeing, and this is one of my favorite things about college football, or just about like football in general, is a new quarterback in a time for him to step up. It all across. I mean, you get from year to year and everything like that. It's going to be interesting to see now the pressure on Georgia trying to win a 3rd straight national championship with a new quarterback. It's going to be fun to see.
I think they're going to be like Nebraska, where Nebraska won it in 94, 95. They didn't win it in 96, but they won it again in 97. I think you could see a similar thing with Georgia, where Nebraska won it 3 out of 4 years.
Georgia?
Yeah.
I know we're not talking about Vandergriff. Who?
Carson Beck. Vandergriff. And Carson Beck was a 4-star. But hey, this is what I'll say. The man won a natty with Stetson. Now, look, Stetson had a supreme understanding of the system, which allowed them to really play within themselves. That offense, I've said this, everybody talks about the Georgia defense, and deservedly so. We can have that conversation. I'd love to have that conversation. It's earned.
Yeah.
That offense was dangerous. And I think the perfect example of how dangerous that offense was, TCU was able to negate Michigan's power rush attack, or negate's a strong word. They were able to lessen the effect of the Michigan power rush attack, and they were able to win the game because that's all they had to worry about when it came to TCU. you can take away the power rushing attack from Georgia. Good on you. What are you going to do about their tight end room? What are you going to do about the wide receivers? What are you going to do about the passing game?
Yep.
They have so much balance to that offense. That's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain that level of balance.
And two, with Mike Bobo now calling plays too as well, that's going to be even more intriguing.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. I know everybody's trying to say new OC. Mike Bobo's been at Georgia before. He did really well at Georgia, and he was there right before, like he was there this past season. So I don't really see it as like a new offensive coordinator hire like Mike Bobo.
It is because you were there before this group of teams and players.
No, but he was there this past season.
Drew, didn't they say that he is going to be a little bit of a change in philosophy as far as what he's wanting to do?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a little bit of a change, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. I mean,
interesting little note.
Defense, and that Georgia defense is going to carry that team.
Yeah, but PG, here's the thing, Ty. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. Okay, Jake Fromm, and before Monken really got there and got things going, that was one of the problems. And to me, I think this is the reason why Georgia has won. It's not just because it's not their defense, in my opinion. It's been because Kirby Smart has finally said, you know what, I'm going to let go of the reins offensively. I'm not going to be all the way over there trying to put my input on it. I'm going to be in the room, but I'm going to let you have it, Monken. And I feel like he was able to actually run his style of ball, do what he wanted to do over there on that side. And so I felt like giving him the reins and just finally taking your hands off of it, that helped Kirby, because I felt like Kirby Smart held them back an awful lot, especially in the Jake Fromm days. Yep. You want to talk about college starting over over Mayfield. Hell, Fields probably should have been starting over Jake Fromm from the get-go.
I'm telling you.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say that it's going to look a little bit different, and Georgia fans have not forgotten about Mike Bobo. Trust me. I have a lot of friends that are Georgia fans that are not like pumping their fists and all this stuff about this hire. So
well, it's interesting because when he was last at Georgia, they actually averaged 1.2 points per game more than they averaged this year. This year they averaged
44 a game, didn't it?
But the difference is, and I think me and Ty talked about this on your show, I think last week, is the complementary football and how so much better the defense has been
no doubt,
for Georgia makes your offense look and are able to score more points because they're not, they're on the field more and they have more opportunities and stuff like that. It puts your defense making plays and being so stout as the way they have, puts your offense in so much better situations during a game.
Yeah. Well, and I get that like Georgia fans are concerned about the quarterback position with Vandergriff and Beck and these guys. I think they need to pump the brakes a little bit because I think this past staff was just so high on Stetson Bennett that they might be overlooking some talent there. I think Georgia fans really only need to be concerned after the spring if they really don't have a guy that's looking like a clear-cut favorite.
Well,
or they're just supposed to feel good that they're contending with each other.
I think that there's probably a quarterback in that room. I'm going to go out on a limb here that ability-wise can make every throw that Stetson can make. I think there's probably a quarterback in that room that can make more throws than what Stetson can make. And Stetson, sneaky good QB. The difference is Stetson knew that offense like the back of his hand. He knew what to do when a defense did whatever. You want to blitz him? He had the answer. You want to do this? He had the answer. That's
key
what
too is going to be how good is this running game going to be as well too. It takes a lot of pressure off of, especially a young quarterback that doesn't have to force things and make plays down the field, stuff like that. If you get a good balanced attack going, it will help your young quarterback out. And I think that's where you'll see Bobo, who likes to run the football a little more. You'll start seeing him maybe lean on some of those running backs and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what it looks like, especially coming out of spring.
Not only running backs. What do I say all the time? You have a new quarterback, good running back play, good tight end play can be that quarterback's best friend and new offensive coordinator's best friend. I have said this, Chris, since you and I have started. I have said this forever. I believe it. I think tight ends are the biggest mismatches, man. And Georgia, they found that recipe. Now, granted, you have to have the guys to do it, and it just so happens that they've been able to successfully recruit that position as good as anybody in college football. You're going to have some quarterbacks coming in that are going to learn, and I don't expect them to come in on Stetson's level because Stetson knew the offense. He was confident. He was veteran, and that matters at that quarterback position, man. Matters.
No doubt.
But you got Brock Bowers. I know Washington. Washington hit the draft, right? You're not going to have him. They got Oscar Delp, right? The number one tight end in the next class after Brock Bowers. He was a freshman this year. So they have another beast tight end.
They might have Bruce Robinson coming in.
USC just got a crystal ball a few days ago. That's ping-ponging back and forth between he and Georgia. But PG, to your point, they could completely, within the realm of possibility, end up with yet another 5-star at that tight end position. And at that point, we're looking at this offense like, okay, dang, man. This is a solid offense. Now they're going to have growing pains. I don't diminish that. They have got some things to work through.
Yeah.
But and
then also too with the you know obviously from year to year, you having that talent and having the depth helps you. But obviously you still don't know what you look like on defense as well too, because you're another year removed from that big defensive class that you had 2 or 3 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys fit into those roles, and can they keep that machine going. So
I'm going to say this right here, because I'm looking at their quarterback room right now. I think, and this is not a slight at Vandergrift because he didn't choose OU, but I really think it's going to come down between Carson Beck and Gunnar Stockton. Because a lot of people, Gunnar Stockton, because I read about that kid an awful lot. I was like, what's this kid's name? Gunnar, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Kid did some things in high school, and a lot of people really like him. They say he got a big heart, and I think that's something that's something I'd be interested in. I think that going into the spring, I think that's the quarterback battle. That's just my thought. I mean, one of them obviously has to transfer. I don't think that you're going to go there. I don't think you're going to stay after spring if you're not.
I'll say this about
you would think, but then you see Spencer Sanders transferring to Ole Miss, where he has to batter with Walker Howard, a former.
Well, he's already sealed his fate as a college football player.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I'm just saying conventional wisdom goes out the door.
Brock Vandergrift could be like the Tate Martell. The next Tate Martell, where he bounces around, you start seeing him and never really pans out somewhere.
I don't think that's gonna be the case there. Tate Martell was a completely different.
Yeah, that was
okay. We're not talking about Tate Martell the person. We're talking about Tate Martell and how he transferred everywhere. That's where that.
Yeah,
stops.
I mean, he could. I don't know, man. I think Brock Vandergrift. I don't know.
JT Daniels, yes, there you go. There's a good comparison.
Yeah, that's a good comparison right there.
No, I did want to talk about some transfer portal stuff, right? Because
that's a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing.
Oh.
It is a thing. Teams are killing it in the portal, right? Y'all got a big time wide receiver, Andrell Anthony, that's going to be huge for y'all. Not only did you get that, you got Stogner, which is going to be huge. You got McCullough, which is going to be huge. Whenever I look at the Oklahoma offense, there's one thing that has got to come together, and that's y'all's wide receiver.
We also got another tight end here recently, the last couple of days as well, too. So
yeah.
Yep.
So whenever I look at Oklahoma, y'all lost from a receptions perspective, and this is in a video I have coming out tomorrow. Y'all lost 60%, just shy of 60% of your receptions from this past season.
Yeah.
It came in at like 57.8. I rounded up to 60. You lost roughly 67% of your production from a wide receiver standpoint. Of your top 6 pass catchers on your team, you retained 2 of them, Farouk and Drake Stoops. Eric Gray was number 6 on that list with 33 receptions. Number 7 on that list was Barnes with 8 receptions. So there was a significant statistical drop-off. So Oklahoma wide receiver room, that's going to be an area where they have to have some guys step up. Now, I've said it before. PG, you can shake your head. They have to step up.
I don't think there's really much room to be concerned about the Oklahoma wide receiver room, because there were a lot of guys last year that
I do agree with that.
Time because they were either hurt, like Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson. Those are going to be some dudes. You got Farouk returning.
We don't know that. You can't just say that with complete 100% confidence.
I mean, and then you hear Farouk. I mean, Farouk returning. He could be used a lot of different
we saw
ways.
production from him.
You hear a lot of great things about JJ Hester and DJ Graham and how the staff really loves them. You know, how they think they're going to be utilized really well in this offense. I don't necessarily think there's room to panic for Oklahoma in the wide receiver game, just because I think, especially with our run game this year and how, you know, just deep that running back room is and how versatile we're going to be in the run game, I think it's going to open up a lot for those wide receivers. So I'm not necessarily as worried about that this year. I'm worried about it if like we have a lot of these guys transfer out next year. That's when I'm going to.
Where I would be worried. I agree. You have some talented guys there. You don't have 1,000-yard wide receiver anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't have next to anything.
You don't have a threat. The biggest thing is you got to have a threat out there. You got to have that guy. As of now, Farouk is that. Farouk
you
is
have
the
Farouk.
guy
You have
in the
Farouk.
room.
Anthony could be that guy too, but we don't know.
Anthony could be that guy. Gibson could be that guy.
LV Bunkley Shelton is I was watching some Arizona State games the other day of back when he was at Arizona State. He is a slot demon.
Yeah.
Call him Slotty Pippen, right? I mean, he does great work in there. And I think one of the things that Oklahoma has is whenever, and this is a big point I have in the video for tomorrow, Farouk is such a key piece, and I've focused on him so much recently here, is because he is someone you can play outside or inside. So for Jaleel Farouk, whenever you're crafting, whenever Lebby goes to craft his wide receiver room, he can look at the situation and say, okay, I have Farouk, but I can play him anywhere. So next, who can I maximize next? You have a guy like Drake Stoops. You put him in the slot. You want to utilize Drake Stoops in the slot, right? He's came
Absolutely,
up big so many times.
Is Drake Stoops going to burn you down the field though?
No.
No.
You got to have somebody that's going to take the lid off the defense.
No, but that's where you have your Andrell Anthony. If he's healthy,
that's where guys that have not had experience at Oklahoma yet.
You got to step up. Yep, and that's the thing. So the wide receiver room, PG, I do agree with you. This is where the talent is there.
A lot of potential.
It's just like I said all this past year with Alabama's wide receiver room. Talent wasn't the issue. They have some guys. The true freshman class, they got some guys in that true freshman class that I think are very gifted. They had no experience anywhere, and you got to grow.
That matters.
That matters.
But
and we still have a second round of the transfer portal. It's going to hit.
True.
So it's like, if for some reason they don't like what's in there, they can go out there and grab another experienced guy. That's why I'm not worried about it. Like, and I think some people are worried. I don't think there's really room to be concerned.
I think here's where I'll say this right here. I'm leaning more towards the optimistic side, like PG, simply for the fact that those younger guys, if healthy, they're coming into this in year 2 of this system, and they're going to know a lot more of the intricacies. I think the thing for me was that, look, we only saw like 3 wide receivers out there, and then we started seeing a little bit more. But the thing was, receivers were hurt. They're too young. Some of them just didn't produce. You saw guys like Gavin Freeman step up. I think the thing about it is that for me, I think this was a learning curve for everybody, especially OU fans in general. But for Lebby, I think Lebby was still trying to figure out this team and figure out exactly what he wanted to do. I think we probably saw roughly 20-30% of the actual playbook. I don't think that Lebby could run what he wanted to run, given the fact that Dylan Gabriel was inconsistent at some times, and then just offensively outside of the run game, passing game, it was a lot left to be desired out there. With the drops, with a lot of different things, there were just a lot of stuff that it was a combination of things that happened at the right time this past season.
Yeah,
that just really hurt us.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of it is going to be interesting to see how these guys with a year under their belt and some practice time and stuff like that come and have a better understanding of the offense. This is where it's like, all right, you're healthy, you know the playbook. There's no excuse now. You got to go out and produce.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at. We got a lot of talent, not experienced talent, but these guys need to step up. And that's why you come to a place like Oklahoma is to do those things.
Well, and these PWOs are going to get a shot to really drive competition in this locker room.
Yeah, but your PWOs are not what make you money. And I love PWOs, don't get me wrong, but that's why you give these guys full rides, is to come in here.
Well, no, produce. I get that they're not. I mean, but here's the thing. They're going to go in there and they're going to drive the competition in that wide receiver locker room.
I mean,
but you're if you're banking on PWOs, PG, you better go.
I'm
you
banking
better
on the
get out of here.
PWOs to go out there and drive some of those other wide receivers to be.
Well,
better.
yeah, you're banking
I
on
would
your
hope
scout.
that your wide receivers you recruited would be able to do that as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, if you're banking on your PO or your PWOs
that means
to push,
you've missed.
and you've missed
big
badly.
time.
Here's the thing. Okay, so we're kind of at a crossroads with this offense going out of that Florida State game because we were so run heavy during that game and it worked.
Yep.
It worked. But here's the thing: we have to see progression. We have to see progression in the pass game. We have to see progression in a lot of aspects on that offense, and it's going to take the wide receivers. We need our wide receivers to be great this year. But here's the thing. We can't have any false start penalties because we're going too fast and we're not lining up right. We can't have those things. You got to – if they understand this offense and they can actually open it up even more, and Gabriel's playing, I know I'm saying a lot of ifs, but if that happens and you see the progression mentally right here, OU will win a lot of ball games this year.
Well, and here's the thing too. A very unpopular take here is you're going to have to see that progression in Jeff Levy too.
Yeah.
So here's one comment, and I'm not trying to be obtuse when I say this factor, because I get what you're saying, but you're saying Stoops was a preferred walk-on though. He performs under pressure just fine and is a playmaker, and I agree with all of those. But I could argue he's the exception as opposed to the rule. I'll put it to you like this, because your next comment completely surmises my example. You said a preferred walk-in puts in more work than most 4- and 5-star players. Maybe so. But is it smarter for someone who has no money to continually bet on the lottery as opposed to someone that has got so much supplemental income that they could write $1,000 check to a lottery ticket every week and never even know? Just because someone wins the lottery every week doesn't mean it's a smart investment. Just because a preferred walk-on works out doesn't mean that like every preferred walk-on is going to work out. Yeah. There are reasons why you recruit.
How often do you see that work out across the country where a guy is elite? Now I'm talking Drake Stoops he's a talent. I'm glad. I mean, he's worked out. He's had a great career at Oklahoma, but he's not a Devontae Smith. He's not a guy that is a high-level 5-star that is going to get drafted in the first round. That's not. I mean, those guys. They everybody has a role to play.
I do think he'll get drafted though. That guy.
I think he will. I think he'll end up. But I think, like you said, it's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, and it's hard because you're a right factor. The example of Stoops isn't the example, right? Because like Stoops plays like a 4, or we've seen 5-star wide receivers not produce like he's produced, right? So I mean, he plays up there with those guys, but like when you're recruiting, I don't think there's a coach in the nation that looks at their recruiting class and then says, oh boy, I can't wait to go get some preferred walk-ons because I need to go get some people to test my wide receivers. Because if you do that, then you've missed on some of the evaluations, in my opinion. And so that's something we've got to see coming up. PG had to bounce. Y'all go check out his channel. Great content, always fantastic interviews.
He does great interviews. Absolutely. Good stuff. Love it.
PG, this is the thing, guys. PG is 1,000% authentic.
And if you want to go see some of these upcoming recruits and the people that we're talking about, he has some really good ones on, some up and coming guys that they're going to land at some big spot, not necessarily Oklahoma and other places, but yeah, fun, just great guys. So names to watch. Go over there and check out his channel for some really good recruits and good interviews.
Absolutely. In fact, no doubt. That's 100%. Here, I'm 1,000% on board with you here. No doubt about that. But I kind of wanted to round this out, man. One, I want to talk about 2 big wins that I think that, but factor, let me be 100% transparent here. Whenever you put the spin on it of, I say spin, that has a negative connotation, and that's not what I mean. Whenever you clarify and you say at the end of the day, Venables wants the guy that's playing for the team, not themselves, that's a stylistic thing. And that's something that stars can't account for. Stars can't give you stylistic preferences. And at that point, a preferred walk-on serves the purpose just as much as a 5-star could in theory. And that's a really solid point. I completely give you that point. That's a really solid point. But I wanted to talk about 2 things before we get out of here. One, some big time wins that Colorado got in the transfer portal. Now, I haven't given my kind of prediction as to what Colorado will do, because I want to see what they do in the second portal window as well, so I get a more complete picture. But I'm going to give y'all two names, one on offense, one on defense, and I'm not going to go Travis Hunter. That's too easy. That goes without saying, right? Whoever you list, put Travis Hunter on there. Defensively, Demoy Kennedy, kid transferring from Alabama, already has a familiarity with Charles Kelly. I think that guy is so talented. Guys, whenever Bama had that same issue Oklahoma had a few years ago, where their running back room was decimated, I mean, nobody. They pulled Christian Leary, a slot wide receiver, and they pulled Demoy Kennedy to go work out in that running back room because they were that gifted. This kid is a top 100 prospect in the nation, playing inside linebacker at Bama, and Nick Saban and them looked at him and said, hey, we could use some help at running back. Go ahead. And he has the ability to do that. Now, I'm not saying that translates, on the field or anything, but it paints the picture. That dude right there is unbelievably gifted. And it kind of gives me flashes, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. And in no way, shape, or form am I comparing Demoy Kennedy to this player. But one of my favorite college football players of recent history is Miles Jack. I did not miss a Bruins game when he played for UCLA. I would not miss it, especially that game against Arizona when all their running backs went down and he came in there, 6 carries, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Legendary stuff. Starting linebacker and running back in college football. Come on, man. I got to see him play in Jerry's World against Texas, and it was legendary. Neither here nor there. But Demoy Kennedy on the defensive side of the ball. You need that hard-nosed linebacker. You got one. Offensive side of the ball, guys, please, if you do me one kindness this evening, remember this name. And I mean this so much. Seydou Traore. Kid comes from a group called PWI Recruits. It's founded by Brandon Collier. He travels the nation, not the nation, he travels the world. Finds kids from other countries that can play football and brings them over here and gets them college opportunities. Hero Canoe with Ohio State. He's one of the PPI kids.
Yep. Australia has been a hotbed for a lot of those recruits.
A&M's got a tight end that they're really excited about that's out of it. Well, Seydou Traore is also out of the PPI Recruits. He came in as a wide receiver, a 6'4" wide receiver, got to college and bulked up naturally, right? He's in a college strength and conditioning room. He's now a tight end, and he's not missing any of his athletic ability. He moves like a wide receiver, but he does not mind the physicality.
Athlete.
Remember the name Seydou Traore. That cat right there is going to be a menace in the Pac-12, and I'm calling my shot now. But those are the two names I kind of wanted to leave y'all with. Do y'all have anybody that you think, not necessarily at Colorado, just some names in the transfer portal you see and you're like, man, that's a big one?
Yeah, and I think like what you were saying earlier, I'm more excited now that this is kind of this cycle of recruiting has, especially the transfer portal, has kind of calmed down. The next one after spring and going into the summer is going to be crazy, and I can't wait to see the shifting and some guys deciding, oh, maybe this is not the right fit for me. I sit here, I tried it for spring, depth-wise, stuff like that. But, what Colorado has done is they've continued to lay their foundation and put great pieces together, whether it be coaching staff, whether it be portal guys, recruiting, stuff like that. And they're continuing to, like you always say, Ty, move the needle. And Deion and Coach Prime has continued to, set them up for success there. Now we'll have to see it on the field, but it's exciting. And
I'm gonna put it on a damn shirt. Move the needle.
Move the needle. And that's what you have to do in college football. You have to move the needle, and and that's what, the SEC is trying to do. That's why you see this conference realignment. You have to see all this other stuff, and everybody's trying to move the needle, whether it's wins, whether it's dollars, whether it's, your brand, whatever the case is. And it's getting more exciting, obviously, with rule changes, with transfer portal, with all this other stuff, and to see it as a whole. And I think that's why we're so enthralled with it, and why we do what we do here is we love to talk about it, and we love to see the next thing, the next shiny toy that comes out. And so with college football, the way it's going and the way that it can potentially be changing every week, it seems like, I love it. And I'm excited to see, especially this offseason, because often people are like, "Oh, it's offseason. You guys are still talking about stuff." Well,
I don't shut up.
It's awesome. So I'm excited, and no, not just I can't pinpoint one guy in the portal, but I think a lot of teams have done a really good. I know Nebraska, Wisconsin, some of these teams have done really good things with new head coaches that have kind of set the tone for their program and their time there. So it'll be interesting to see as they get into spring football and into fall camps coming up, where they shake out. So exciting stuff always in college football.
Hey, there is Hey, he sent me that kid's film.
Yeah,
that kid's pretty nice.
He is. It's impressive. It's a good one, Jason.
One thing I was gonna say, that tight end that y'all got to transfer from Maryland to Bama,
CJ DePire, yeah.
Yes. How big of a difference is that?
For Bama, huge now. And here's why. There's a few names in that Bama tight end room, Chris, I think could be mismatches. Blocking's going to be key for my first one, Amari Nyblack. Nick Saban is over the moon for this kid. The comps he said for him, I'm not even going to repeat because you guys won't believe me. He has got a lot of ability. He's just green behind the ears, man. Green. I mean, like, I don't think there's a better way to classify him as a football player than green, learning. But the ceiling is dumb. They don't have real great experience at tight end. They have Robbie Oots, who functions more as a fullback, a traditional fullback who they put at the tight end. They don't have Latu anymore. He went on. Whenever they moved to this new offensive coordinator, which Tommy Rees from Notre Dame, and then they grab the offensive analyst from Notre Dame who coached tight ends, and then they go out and grab another former NFL coach in Ken Wisenhunt. Name escaped me for a little bit. He worked with tight ends. That experience in the tight end room, I think, is going to be huge for Alabama. So I think it's a big one. Yeah.
I was just wondering because I saw that and I was like, man, that's like a little bit of hype, not a lot of hype, but I was like, that may be a move. I mean,
it's a big one.
Hey, and something to look at too as far as coaches moving. With Loxley getting Kevin Sumlin.
Oh my gosh, how is nobody? And look, I'm about to say, this is how dumb I am. If any of y'all want to know, I was about to have the audacity to say, how is nobody talking about that? As I'm hosting my own college football show currently live in front of people, not talking about that. So I am the monster.
I saved you. I got you.
Yeah, I am the monster. I want to destroy. It seems. No, I sent that in the group chat.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the best.
That's huge for them. Because he can, and you talk about moving the needle. He can move the needle in recruiting and other stuff like that. And don't be surprised if maybe his son decides to head up there. I know he's down in Florida, but maybe after this cycle, spring ball, things like that. Never know.
That was a great hire.
It was.
It was a really solid.
I love, and it's an unpopular opinion, but I've always loved Kevin Sumlin, and just every time I've been around him or had a chance to meet him or hear him at a clinic or something like that, always a good one. Great football mind.
And I've said this countless times, and I hate to bring Texas A&M into this conversation. What has Jimbo Fisher given you that Kevin Sumlin didn't?
A bigger salary.
He's taken more money. He's gotten you a better recruiting class, and he hasn't done anything with it.
You're paying him more.
I have always asked this when I talk about Texas A&M. And one thing I think people need to understand about me, I'm a little bit different in my view of college football in this sense. And I think both the guys here can vouch for me on this. In my world, I would like every team to be good because I just think it creates more interesting storylines. I think it creates a more interesting game. I want everybody to be good, even A&M or even Auburn, right? People know me as a Bama fan, even Auburn. I would like it if Auburn was like, oh, this is going to be a great game. It's a great rivalry. Can't miss. Don't you dare do it.
I knew it.
Yeah, I was going to remove him. But I'm not going to do it. For those of you.
Starts reaching for, sir, put your hands up. Don't move.
For people who are listening to this in podcast form after it comes out, he has an Auburn sign that he likes to troll me with. And yeah,
He just throws it behind him at opportune times.
it just ends up there. He moved to a new house
Yeah,
and it
Hank.
just so happened to be there. It's just so, convenient.
It traveled.
Hank.
Don't give him a big head, James Adams. Don't give him a big head. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. But no,
Chris moves the needle for this show for sure.
Point being, I want A&M to be good. I want every team to be good. And I just look at A&M and I don't know what their standard of acceptability is. Kevin Sumlin won more games in the same amount. He won more ranked games. He had more ranked road wins.
Nino.
And he had less group of 5 losses. I saw what Neo said, and I'm just trying to avoid it. But it's
man,
it hurts. You know what I mean? It hurts.
Hey, but it doesn't hurt that bad when we have all them rings, though, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
A&M is just as confused as you are.
I think they're in the same boat, Ty. They're not sure what they're doing. They don't know. They're trying.
I promise you, Factor, if they're as confused as I am, they're in a world of hurt because I am perplexed.
Well, it's like you were talking about earlier with the lottery and writing those $1,000 checks. They're never seeing it, so it's just it doesn't really, when they got all that money, you're just like, I guess whatever.
I had to look up more synonyms for confused just because I need to add more emphasis on here. Demented, bewildered, muddled, befuddled, disoriented, if you will. Some might even say unbalanced or unhinged, and even in some circles, they may say senile. Now, I'd prefer not the last one, but it's on the list, and I want to be as authentic as possible, and I want to withhold the information. But, guys, that's about it for tonight's show. We went an hour and 30 minutes while editing topics during the middle of the off season.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about right. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find all your great content.
Hey, Drew England, host of the Under Official Review podcast. Me and my buddy Zach, we talk all things college football. If you are an OU fan, I also do the Anything OU podcast with my buddy Christian Williams. We talk everything OU, not just football, but Sooner sports as a whole. So follow us, like us, get the subscribers up. But, we always, and go down here if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button and then comment. And Ty is always rolling out some great stuff. So.
Hey guys, look, you can find me at the Horns Down Podcast, Horns Down always. Find us on YouTube, find us on Spotify. You can you got me laughing. Find us on Apple Podcasts, all of that stuff. So yeah, for sure. Definitely check us out. Horns Down Podcast, you already know.
Hall of Fame. Let's get you on the show, man.
It's time, man.
Let's send me your schedule. Let's get you on the show.
Yes.
If Mondays and Fridays don't work, we can do a special live. Let's get you on.
Ooh, a little special.
You let me know. Well, let's get you on the show. That'd be a lot of fun, man. I'd love to have you on. I think that's just the best way, man. You can more eyes on your content. And I've said this before, and then we'll get out of here. Competition. And I got to give credit to Josh Pate on this when he called me one time and we were talking and he said, I look at competition different because we should all kind of be pushing each other as opposed to competing with each other. And at the end of the day, the end goal is giving the viewer the best content. And if that means having all these voices on, that's the best content for the viewer. Any links for Twitter? Yeah, guys, go ahead and drop your Twitter links in the chat. That way everybody can give you a follow. I'm notoriously bad at social media. That's going to change because I have to be better at it. If this is going to be my job, I can't continue to just throw my voice in the abyss. Not to mention, Nick, dang it. Chess is around the corner, Nick. I want you to keep that pep in your step whenever chess comes around. I just dropped mine in there as well. So. You can find the links to both my podcasts too on my page as well, my Twitter profile. So if you guys want to go over there and hit our YouTube channels and everything like that, and give us
give us a subscribe. So, and OU baseball won today, just won. So
Yeah, and OU softball is about to do what OU softballs always does. I mean,
yeah, we took that loss yesterday, but we'll be back.
I didn't even know y'all took a loss. I just kind of assume y'all are going to win.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody does, but it's okay. Even Michael Jordan misses a free throw every now and again.
That is true.
All right, y'all. We're going to get out of here. I got to eat dinner. I got to let these two go to their lives outside of this right here. But we'll catch y'all Friday, 5:30 Central Standard Time. Can't wait to see y'all. Until then, we'll have a lot of content for you. That's it. See it. Spinning Wheel of Doom ensuing. Chris